Hello, my name's Steve Morris and I've written a book called Do It Yourself, A History of Music in Medway. With me is Stuart Turner of Stuart Turner and the Flat Earth Society, and I thought I'd have a chat with him at an undisclosed location, namely his house, to talk about some of his favourite albums from around Medway. I asked him to do 10, he came up with 14. What can you do?
I tried my best, I really did. I had a list of 25, which I thought was quite exclusive. I got it down to 17, which I thought I'm getting close now.
Right.
I felt I couldn't go any lower than 14.
It's just too much good stuff.
It was, I feel too attached to at least four least four albums that I felt that it wasn't representative.
Right.
If it was any lower than that.
Fair enough.
That was my lowest offer.
Okay, that's okay. That's okay.
For various reasons.
Yeah.
Which
okay.
I can.
That's fine. So we haven't got a top ordering. We haven't listed them in a particular order.
that was
selection,
this is that would have been too hard in itself. But I mean, getting it down to 14 was difficult enough.
Yeah.
Putting them in some kind of order would have been just.
Yeah. So the last
hierarchical.
Yeah.
We're not home. We're not at home to the hierarchy.
No. So the last thing you see is not necessarily the best. It's just the last on the list.
Exactly.
Okay. So what's the first on this no particular order list?
Well, I have no visual aids for this particular one, on the grounds that the album in question is currently in my loft. This is not a reflection on the album in question. It's more of the fact that I've ripped the album in question to a hard drive that lives in the corner of my lounge. However, yes, Chinese Burn by the Len Price 3.
We have some examples of Len Price 3.
We have
not
as a visual aid. Here is a Len Price 3 album that is not Chinese Burn.
Yes.
However, this is not the Chinese Burn by the Len Price 3. This is Rent a Crowd by the Len Price 3, which has a very fetching picture of the bandstand at Victoria Gardens on the back.
And the band in their standard stripy uniform.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're a great band. I think there is a tendency to classify the Len Price 3 as a garage rock band, and they're not. They are a pop band.
Yeah.
With a fondness for the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you think of them as a pop band, they are exemplary. They are tight, they have tunes, they are very accomplished musicians. But the reason why Chinese Burn, when I first came to Medway, I saw them play and I was blown away. And there was at that time, there existed a gig venue, the Tap and Tin, in Medway, and it was a thing. It was its own little phenomenon. That exaggerates things slightly. It wasn't that phenomenal, but it was a good place.
Yeah.
But there was also Friday nights at the Command House.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Friday nights at the Command House were a different animal altogether, and it was Friday nights at the Command House. For me, brought me a whole lot of bands that I still listen to all the time, and they were very good. And out of that, I don't want to use the word scene, but scene. There was the Long Weekend, there was the Ambience, there was a whole lot of bands, and they were in the main they were very, very good bands. But certainly, Long Weekend and the Ambience.
So what sort of
in my mind.
Are we talking year-wise?
2004-ish.
Yeah.
2003, 2004. But yeah, certainly, the Long Weekend, the Ambience stick in my mind. But part of that whole Friday night thing, Command House, was also irregular gigs by the Len Price 3, and they were the best of that scene,
right.
and hence that album, because that's the album that came out of that time.
Yeah, so that's their first album, isn't it?
They played a lot of other places as well, but that's where I used to go and see them. That's where I used to go and see them. That's where I used to go see them the long weekend. That's where I used to see the Ambience. That's where my own old band used to play there. You used to see Pete Molinari, all sorts of people, and it was a very good time for me in my life. It was a Kid Harpoon. Just generally, there was a lot of things that used to happen there that I was enormously impressed by, and I think for me that album, Chinese Burn by the Len Price 3, typifies for me that whole time.
Yeah.
And in my attempt to get it down to 10 albums, which I didn't do, fail.
Yeah.
That was an attempt to encapsulate about 4 albums by 4 different bands.
Okay.
In my head, at least.
Oh, good.
So it's at that time. They've made other albums.
Yeah.
They're consistently good.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's autobiographical rather than.
Yeah.
So for me, that typifies that time, that place, and all those other bands.
Yeah.
So that one goes out for all those other bands.
Okay.
That were playing with them in the
Yeah.
same time and place. Ironically, for a band that played a lot at the Command House on a Friday night, the album launch for that particular album was at the Tap and Tin, which was it was a very memorable evening in a lot of ways. But it was there we are.
Good. Right, so the second one on the list, which is?
In no particular order, brings us to Groovy Uncle.
Groovy.
Who are the recording project of Glenn Pragnall, with it's Glenn Pragnall and Associated People. Groovy Uncle as a project have released a number of albums.
Yeah.
I'm sure you know, but I've gone with Persuaded.
Okay.
I've always liked all of the Groovy Uncle project recordings, but this is my favourite for various reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it's an album of Bond themes.
Can't go wrong with that.
It's basically a whole album of Bond themes featuring assorted vocalists. It also features the bass player from my own band, who appears in cartoon. In a slightly, you probably can't see this, but he really is in a cartoon on the back, looking slightly hissy. There he is.
Okay.
Yeah, like a teapot. Anyway, but he plays with the Groovy Uncle stuff, and it's great. It's really good. Very high quality, really good sound, really well recorded. But I mean, it's the attention to detail. It's the on this album particularly, to go the extra mile to make it sound more Bond theme than Bond theme, in a way that actually Bond themes recently haven't been.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's any TV producers out there. You're missing a trick. You're missing all the tricks. Here it is. This is right there.
So this
it's
has got
readily available.
Susie Chunk and Miss Modus on it. They're the female vocalists on there.
Indeed they are.
Along with Glenn. So, yeah.
So yes, Persuaded by Groovy Uncle.
Brilliant.
And Visual Aid number 2 completed.
Good. Right. Next.
You have my list right there.
I have a list. Yes.
Yeah.
Punching Swans.
Punching Swans.
So visualization for this.
Visualization for this. This is
a beautiful piece of visualisation as well. Yeah.
This is Nesting. Hello viewers. Allow me to present Nesting by Punching Swans. Nesting by Punching Swans is that most anachronistic thing. It is a sort of concept album. There is a sort of thread running through the album. There is a beautiful presentation package there's a book with illustrations and the lyrics. It is everything I actually like about physical formats. In a physical format. It's superfluous. It's nonsensical. It's taking everything beyond just the audio. It's wonderful. It's noisy. It's chaotic, and by the end of the album, ridiculously poppy. And again, this represents a lot of things. This is, for me, I'm trying to incorporate a lot of musical things that exist in Medway, and for me this is I don't know, this is representing a lot of other bands. This is representing Bear vs Monero. This is representing Frau Pouch.
Yeah, because Joe Wise from Frau Pouch is in there, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. This is this is anyway. This is all of the bands that feed into it. I mean, Punching Swans are essentially a supergroup, in a very local way. Houdini and all of I don't know, they're very, very good.
Particularly noisy element of...
Exactly. A lot of bands who can't get gigs because they're too loud. Yeah. It was this or the Frau Pouch album, and ultimately, just because of the pretty book, this pipped the Frau Pouch album.
Shall we show the viewers the content of the book?
Honestly, it really is quite an extraordinary thing. I mean, pages and pages of lovely illustrations of skeletal birds with human limbs and knives, and anyway. I leave it for you to discover.
Excellent.
It's a wonderful thing, and it's there to be discovered. But they are an extraordinary band. The drumming is extraordinary. The bass player is funky. The guitar player is extraordinary. It's very well recorded. It's, as I say, it's representing a whole bunch of other bands in my own head for list-making purposes, and I hope the other bands don't feel hard done by for being represented. I'm sure they're not even aware that I'm represented. That's not the point. The point is, it's quite a piece of work.
Okay.
And I'm not afraid to tell them, and I have done.
Good.
So, there we go.
Marvellous. Next one, Upsy Downsy.
Upsy Downsy, left C, right C, ABC plus start.
Yeah. And the battle is won, you said.
Yeah, I did. And that was a tough decision because I wanted to include one of their albums and I didn't know which one to include. Because I like pretty much all of them. And I have pretty much all of them. I have demos from before that album, from when I first saw them. Yeah. The first time I saw them was played in the Manor Club, which is not there anymore, or the Manor upstairs at the Manor Club. Yeah. It's Bar M. That was what it was called. Yeah. And it's not there anymore. None of it's there anymore. And I thought they were just quite extraordinary. And
a sprawling instrumental.
They had 2 drummers at that stage and 2 guitars, bass, drums, and it was just this big orchestral noise. Yeah. And then they finally put out an album proper, and I remember putting it on my Christmas list one year, And suddenly my parents had to try and find this album on Tap and Tin Records in Dorset. And that was quite difficult for them.
Did they manage it?
They did. They did manage it, and here it is. It's still here to this day.
All credit to Mr. and Mrs. Turner.
Yeah, all credit to them. Well done, Sheila. You did well. It's their debut album.
Yeah.
It's 10 years old.
Oh, we should sing Happy Birthday.
Well, it was 10 years old. It's now older.
Okay.
It's 11 years old now.
11.
Now. But yes, they did do a celebratory 10th anniversary gig last year. But it is an extraordinary piece of work. As are most of their albums. It was extraordinary. There was the extraordinary album. There's so many great albums, but this was my in.
Okay.
This is the first one, and again, it just you never forget your first time.
No. Well, there's something about first albums, isn't there? In general.
I think so, and it's not to be. I feel like I'm in some way, even for the purposes of this interview, belittling their other albums. And that's not true, because I've liked everything I've heard. There hasn't been anything of theirs I haven't liked, and that makes it more difficult. But this was my in, I guess. I heard some demos and stuff, but as I say, this is their first album. Everything that those demos were building up to this. So
and
this.
The name of the band, how does that come?
It's a cheat in Sonic the Hedgehog.
Listeners are a certain age.
The strange thing was that when they were making that album, I did pop into the recording studio where they were recording, because that's where I was recording at the time as well. And my own recording sessions at that time were frenetic, chaotic affairs involving various people dropping by and there was no downtime. But I popped into their recording session and they were all gathered around a Game Boy playing a computer game, and just all of them.
Right.
And it made sense of the name. I'm sure that obviously they did a lot of recording as well. And I think there was some downtime in the studio due to the tape machine. It was just it didn't make me laugh at the time. But yeah, the extraordinary thing. If you ever go to see them, and I advise you do, you really have no concept of dynamics until you see them. Really, I always think I have a handle on dynamics until I'm reminded I don't.
So we move on to the next one?
Move on.
Yeah, okay. Kris Dollimore's 0201 78 or 1978. Yes, that one. Yep.
Sorry.
And
apologies for the collapse of things. Here it is. It's this one.
We need to make a disclaimer here, don't we?
Because we do. I'm involved in this one.
You're involved in that, yeah.
I was, however nominally, the producer of this album.
Right.
I chose the track listing, I made guitar selections, I chose recording studios, I drafted in Wolf Howard to play drums, basically because Kris asked me. He's an extraordinary guitar player with an extraordinary pedigree, who's done an awful lot of things, and I think we made a very, very good record.
Yeah.
He's made other records that I'm less attached to because I wasn't involved. But that's neither here nor there. The point is, I think we made something quite Medway.
Yeah.
That we made a Medway blues record, and that was what we set out to do.
Yeah.
I think we did that very well, and we managed to get it onto Radio 2, and
Yeah.
which sounds, you know, a bit Terry Wogan, but it was quite a big deal.
Yeah.
And we made something quite unique, I think. And I think, yeah, well, he is unique, isn't he? I mean, he's great. A really good guitar player, and really, yeah, terrific talent.
He's got quite a past, and he played with Dollimore.
He did. He's played with. He was the guitar player in the Godfathers. Went on to play with Adam Ant. He played with the Damned. He played in Dollimore for a long time. He recently did the Dollimore reunion tour.
Yeah.
He appeared in Top of the Pops in a kilt, despite being from Sheppey.
Is there a special Sheppey tartan?
No, I don't believe so. I did, you know, that has been asked of him, but he, it's one of those things that he appeared on Top of the Pops, doing Scotland's World Cup song, in a kilt.
Was that around about 98 time or something like that?
Yeah, back then, yeah. And on TFI Friday, doing the same, but not without, no kilts on TFI Friday.
That must be where I remember having seen it, yeah.
Yeah.
And you contributed a song to that album.
I did.
The snappily titled North Kent's Post-Industrial Hill Stomp Blues.
The very same.
Yeah.
That'd be the one that got on Radio 2.
Right.
Yeah, it was. That wasn't my decision for it to be on the album. That was Kris's. So he wanted to do it as a nod back to me. But
okay.
It was good fun to do, and it was. I play on that as well. So.
Yeah.
It was yeah. It was a good time making that record, and it was I think some of the at least some of his best work, I think, in my opinion.